Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Doctor. It's another hot day out here in the Pacific Northwest. Hope all of you guys are having a wonderful Wednesday, enjoying all of the updates that came to the game overnight. It was wonderful not to have extended maintenance, and I'm glad you guys are here watching this video. We are going to be talking about the ability toggle system. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And just as a little bit of a disclaimer beforehand, the ability toggle system is a little bit controversial. You can't make a end-all be-all guide for what abilities need to be toggled on and what abilities need to be toggled off in what situation. What this video is going to do is kind of take my approach to some very popular and common units, and I'm going to talk about some of the lists that are out there as well, and we're going to talk about my opinions on them and whether you should be turning those abilities on and off or whether you shouldn't. And the first unit I want to talk about is Rain. And for those of you guys that know, I use Rain on quite a regular basis. And on one of the Reddit threads that talks about abilities not to pick up or abilities not to use, one of the abilities that they specifically highlight is Rain's Firaga. And I'm someone who runs Rain as sub Grandshell Knight. I enjoy the ability to be able to tank as Rain. And because of that, I also want to deal damage. So Firaga is one of the best damage dealing spells that Rain has access to. So I would say if you are looking to deal damage with Rain as sub Red Mage using Jamming Thrust, definitely you could turn Firaga off if you wanted to. However, if you are looking at subbing Knight of Grandshell on Rain, I would not turn Firaga off if I were you, because it's going to be one of his primary ways of dealing damage. While we're talking about tanks in general as well right now too, there's some talk about how, like with Warrior of Light, for example, you just want to turn off all of his abilities, right? Like you want to turn off everything except Brave Presence. And that's kind of a mistake, right? Because what we're going to be running into, what you guys are going to be experiencing, is you're going to see a lot of people experimenting. You're going to see a lot of people adjusting abilities that don't need to be adjusted, or you're going to be seeing them go too far to an extreme or too far not to an extreme. And I think Warrior of Light is a great example of this. So let's talk about Warrior of Light's abilities here. And of course, the key ability that we think about is Brave Presence, right? We want him to use Brave Presence. It's one of his most powerful abilities. It's what draws enmity to him. And of course, you're always going to want him to use this, right? And you may want him to use it in different settings, which may mean you want his abilities to be adjusted differently. For example, on our current guild battle map right now, I am okay with Brave Presence being casted on the second ability. That's great. That means he's going to be generating AP with his first ability. He'll be casting Brave Presence with his second ability. There's a significant amount of distance between the enemies, so that when the enemies do come in range, he is going to be able to pop his limit break immediately. Now, if we were on an arena map when we had Double Gunner, for example, and the Double Gunners were immediately able to start firing on the opposing team, I would want to adjust his abilities in order to be making sure that his first move is going to pop Brave Presence immediately in order to draw the fire from the enemy gunners. So there is an element of thinking here, right? You may want to turn off abilities in order to dictate a certain flow of abilities from your units, and there's not really a one-size-fits-all. I also want to talk about some controversial Warrior of Light abilities as well. Holy Bravery and Shift Attack. Now, if you are looking at some of the guides, they do say turn off Holy Bravery immediately, turn off Shift Attack. I mean, your Warrior of Light's not going to be able to do shit if you turn all those off. You could, of course, be going for a Stop Blade build, right? In which case, yeah, you might want to turn those off so that he uses Stop Strike. That's a really good strategy. However, you still want him to deal a little bit of damage, so maybe you don't turn them all off. I mean, you're going to have to test and experiment, but it seems like this idea of turning off all abilities isn't always going to be the most useful, and especially for something like Holy Bravery. My Warrior of Light, for example, runs Nagarok, and he runs quite a few sort of attack boosting abilities. Holy Bravery actually does a substantial amount of damage and is one of the reasons in like a 1v1 match Warrior of Light can actually kill an enemy Sid. So if I had turned off Holy Bravery, my Warrior of Light would not be able to kill an enemy Cid. Now, maybe I don't want him to use Holy Bravery. Maybe I think it's going to affect his AI in a way that's not going to make him use Brave Presence. Absolutely true. But again, it's something you're going to have to think about, something you're going to plan, and I think it's something we all need to look at and adjust. One other call out here is on Sub Spellblade. You can actually sub Spellblade now, and you can turn off Bioblade and Banish Blade, and you can get sort of that resist magic ability, which is going to put a magic barrier on Warrior of Light and himself. So if you do want Warrior of Light to be a little bit more magic oriented, you could level up resist magic and have him use resist magic. That is a high TP cost spell, and it is going to generate a lot of AP for him. Now, looking at some of the other units, let's talk about Medina, because Medina is one of those units who, if you have Medina leveled up, if you use Medina in PvE, depending on what abilities you have unlocked is going to dictate whether or not she uses her limit break. So when you come in here, when you go to her Black Mage sub, you're going to see all of these abilities, and you'll notice my Blizzaga is at level 1. The reason my Blizzaga is at level 1 is if you have unlocked Blizzaga and you've leveled up Blizzaga, there are situations where Medina will use Blizzaga instead of her limit break. So I never want that to be the case whenever I'm using my Medina, so I'm just going to turn that off. That's one of those ones that's just non-negotiable. Very similar to Ayaka, right? If you guys have Ayaka, you're going to want to turn off Immobilize, you're going to want to turn off Slow, Haste. You just want her to cure, right? Maybe you don't turn off Haste. You'll kind of have to decide that. I think in a lot of cases, Haste is the one to turn off, though. So there's kind of non-negotiable abilities turn off. Medina has a few of them. Ayaka has a few of them. Let's talk about Miranda as well, because Miranda is another really popular unit right now. And I think she's someone who might be a little bit confusing for people. So let's hop in and take a look at her abilities. I do run Miranda as sub-time mage. And so from her primary red mage kit, fast cast, one of the kind of pain in the ass abilities that she'll use, I did turn off. Now, I might actually find myself setting this on her again. I'm not fully sure because it is a TP use, like a high TP use ability. It is going to generate AP for jamming thrust, and she's kind of backline. So it's really going to depend on the TMR ability I have on her. Pretty standard, I would say, to turn that off, though. Now, sub-time mage for her, I of course turned Immobilize and Float off. And I turned Haste and Slow off because what I want is I want her to use Quicken. Now, if I were looking at this in terms of guild battle, right? Guild battle could be going on for multiple battles or multiple situations. So maybe since Quicken only has 3 uses, I might go to advanced settings here for my Miranda, and I might have it off for everything except for guild battle. So now she will use Haste during guild battle, and she will use Quicken. So that's guild battle specific only, and you should be thinking about guild battle separately as a battle of attrition, because if you turn off all your abilities and then you jump into guild battle, the next thing you know, you're just going to be screwed, because you're not going to have abilities, you're not going to have spells that it casts to deal damage, and you're just going to kind of be like a hit block. Like, people are just going to run up and just like smack you across the face, and your units are eventually going to die. So something to think about there. I think a lot of this comes with like healing and stuff as well. And I think Kilfei is a great example of this right now. So let's pop up Kilfei's ability screen. And I think Kilfei for a lot of people right now is like, oh, you know, you turn everything off except Holy. That's what you do, guys, is you turn everything off except Holy, and then she kills Venera. Well, I don't think that's the best idea. Maybe that's like the JP meta. I don't know. I've never played JP. But here's what I'm looking at when I'm thinking about Kilfei right now. I definitely have Holy unlocked. I have Shield of Staves on, Energy Buster on. I turned Wingstaff off because she does tend to pop this every now and again. I left Earth Staff on. I'm going to have to experiment with a little bit more. The reason I left Energy Buster on is because it is a guaranteed hit attack. And so I'm thinking, you know, maybe she'll use it. Maybe she's going to be frontline enough. You know, if she uses that over Holy, I'm completely fine with it. There are some people who do say you should turn Energy Buster off because Holy is a casted spell on a unit. So if a unit moves after Killfay while Killfay's casting on it, she will get that holy off. So there may be some situations after you've experimented with Killfay where maybe turning Energy Buster off is a good idea, and that's something we're going to experiment on. However, what I think about with Killfay is that Killfay only has 3 casts of holy, and I feel like you're going to be casting holy more than 3 times, particularly if like a Warrior of Light walks up and you're casting a holy, or Rain. Like, they're just going to soak up those holies, and the next thing you know, guild battle is going to be over and you're going to have nothing, right? Now for Arena, yeah, definitely you probably want to turn off Energy Buster. Arena is probably not going to last more than 3 casts most of the time, depending on what type of fight you're doing. So yeah, turn off Energy Buster for Arena. Again, there's so many options. You have to think about all of this stuff, guys. I can't make a universal video saying these are all of the abilities you need to turn off, right? I can only give you guys the tools, give you guys kind of what I'm thinking about, and kind of start a dialogue and a conversation, because we are going to have to experiment with this, and there are going to be things that are better and worse depending on what type of content you're doing, what type of team you're running, and how you're planning on running that. Now, let's talk about some White Mage on Killfay as well, because I did want Killfay to cure, believe it or not. Now, I turned off Cure, I turned off Asuna, I turned off Cura. I only want her to use Curata and Holy, because of course I do run double tanks with my Killfay. Of course, Curata has 6 uses, so I'm not too worried about not being able to cast it. It's that Holy that I am really concerned about with only 3 uses. When I was talking to Giant, Giant was actually very excited to use Spellblade Killfay for the resist magic. I'm not sure what else he wanted to use her on, maybe Stoneblade or something like that, but he was very excited to get that resist magic on Killfay, make her a little bit stronger, get some of those Spellblade abilities in there, and I'm just now realizing I need to max out my faith on Killfay, since we are going to be putting her under the wire over the next couple of days. And let's talk about Victoria, because I haven't done any of Victoria's abilities yet, and I think Victoria is a unit that a lot of people are going to adjust the abilities wrong on. So let's look at her primary kit here. And of course, this is going to be all of the jumps, right? And what you have to think about, I think, first and foremost, is how you're generating AP and what you want your AP spent on. Woo! Yawning here, guys. Now, for me, I want all of these abilities unlocked, right? Because they have varying AP levels, and you're going to want her to use all of these abilities. Now, there may be people who only want her to use Dragon Dive. I wouldn't recommend that. However, there may be people that think it's a good idea to turn off vertical and horizontal jump. It's not, but there may be people who think it is. Don't do that. Something just like, don't do it, guys. I feel like Victoria's pretty much good on her own. We want her to use Dragon's Kin. She doesn't use Dragon's Roar or Dragon's Standard anyway. So the question is kind of, could we get something more beneficial from her sub jobs? And honestly, you know, we might be able to get something better from like Soldier sub or Thief sub. Let's kind of take a look, right? Because now all of a sudden different doors are open for us. I don't think she has Drain Force, right? She has Hazard Spin, Hard Slash, Hazard Break. So, you know, this might be one of those situations where I'm like, Hazard Break actually sounds really good on Victoria. What if instead of subbing Dragoon and not getting any good abilities, I decide to sub Soldier, and maybe I turn off Dragon's Kin and turn on Hazard Form so that she uses Hazard Form over Dragon's Kin, and then I force her to use Hazard Break instead of her jumps, right? Like, who would expect a Hazard Break Victoria, right? What if she's with slashing, like a whole bunch of slashing people, and all of a sudden she just starts popping out Hazard Break, right? So all of a sudden you got like Venera, Victoria, and Sid in a composition, and everyone's expecting your Victoria to like jump, and then out of nowhere Hazard Break and kills the opponent. So these are the types of things you have to think about, types of different ways to think about your units. You can get a little bit more out of sub jobs now, depending on how you want to play it and what you want to do. Let's see. Of course, for Mont, you're going to want to turn Stone Throw off. That should be your #1 priority. I feel like we've been going through a lot of units. We'll probably finish off with Sid here. If you're running Lucia, you are going to want to turn off all charge abilities. There was a conversation on both websites that I looked at, which were talking about ability on-off, where you wanted to turn off Immortal Spirit on your tanks. And the reason you wanted to turn off Immortal Spirit is because you want them to pop Sentinel, right? So if they pop a passive, move, they might pop Immortal Spirit instead of Sentinel. So that's why you turn Immortal Spirit off, is so that on the first round of hits, they pop Sentinel and not Immortal Spirit. So that's something to look at. Again, I would say experiment on your own, but it did make sense when I was going through the ability list and talking about it. And of course, you just want your Rangers to use Sharp Shot. Turn off those, turn off those charge abilities. Ain't nobody want those. It's not going to do anybody any good at all. Now, let's talk about Sid, because I haven't thought much about how this affects Sid, and I'm kind of curious now looking at it. Let's take a look at his primary kit for Sword Saint. Crush Weapon, Crest of the Black Line, Crush Armor, Shadow Blade. I actually wonder if you could force Sid to spam Shadow Blade now, if you turned everything off. This is just like, this is my head right now thinking about how I'm going to utilize like Sid and my units and all of that. Like, I honestly wonder if you could just put Ziza's TMR on him and just set him as like Shadow Blade only and just like send him in there. Maybe give him like Divine Ruination too, so he has some other option of attacking. That would be pretty funny. Let's see for Sub Samurai. You're probably going to want to turn, he doesn't use meditation anyway. There were some people talking about turning Congo off. Probably a good idea if you look at the amount of AP that it takes up here. Although it is one of his only AoE techniques that he can use with Sub Samurai. So, I don't know. I've had good results with Congo. I am going to turn it off here, though. Night Veil, I've also had good results with. However, a Night Veil versus a Crush Armor, I think I would rather have them use Crush Armor, so I'm going to turn that off. Devotion, I've never seen my Sid use a Devotion, so we're just going to turn that off. And he does use Hien, and Hien is one of those unique attacks that has range height too, so I am going to let him use it. Let's see, though, if we can get anything from Sword Saint sub. Looks like only Hallowed Bolt and Crush Helm. Again, not really much. So I would say, again, Sid's going to be one of the more easier units to kind of curate. Once you get into more difficult units, I think that's where you're going to have to make a decision. Or if your units are doing things you don't want them to do, that's going to be the route to go. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I know this is kind of a long video, and I know there are people out there who probably want me to go over every single unit. And the reality is, I don't want to make a 15-minute video because I feel like you guys wouldn't want that. Make sure you leave down in the comment section down below what your favorite ability offs have been on your favorite units, because honestly, we don't have a big cache of data on this right now. So make sure you drop it down in the comment section, and everyone make sure you check those out and like and comment back on them. Make sure you come join our Discord at dig.gs/discord. And you guys, one of the best ways to support me is to use my affiliate link. So if you could please use that when you purchase Amazon coins to buy Visior. The link is dig.gs/coins, or you can get my special discount code at dig.gs/offer. And please check it out, guys. It is one of the best ways to support me, and it does make sure that I can do this and still make a living. Thank you so much, YouTube, and you guys have a great rest of your day.